I did get called a fucking idiot by some senior officers who had said, what are you doing? If you are just constantly told that you're a piece of shit, you're beasted for everything that you do wrong, you're going to come out of that thinking that that's just the way. And that is going to inculcate a toxic culture to leave their families at 4 hours notice to move, to go anywhere in the world. Best you make sure that their families are catered for. And best you make sure that they feel valued, because if they don't feel valued and they don't feel as though they're worth anything, they're not gonna have their kit ready to go.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Combat Fuel podcast. We are joined today by now Mr. Tom Collins, a former Army officer and now online fitness coach. Tom, thank you very much for your service. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. I really appreciate being here. Having been involved with Combat Fuel for a number of years now, this is to see it grow first and foremost is just incredible. I served as a Army officer in the Royal Signals and the Queen's Gurkha Signals, Jai Gurkha. Joined the Army at 18 and left at the ripe old age of 40 to pursue what was my second passion and now my major passion, fitness and coaching.
It's a big difference. Army officer, major, maybe perhaps looking at Lieutenant Colonel.
Hopefully.
To then being telling people how to do adult PE, without dumbing it down and no disrespect.
Yeah.
It's a monumental transition from what we would stereotypically imagine a military officer to go and do after service. I don't think I know any other officers that have left service to then at your level to go into fitness coaching. It's pretty cool. It's commendable as well. It's not been done. It wasn't that a natural transition, was it?
I think
it's quite cool.
I think for most people who actually took the time to know me throughout my career, and this might be a weird thing to say, but I was never a stereotypical officer.
No.
And for those who genuinely know me, it wasn't that much of a leap. I did get called, in fact, are we good for swearing?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. I did get called a fucking idiot by some senior officers who had said, what are you doing? Verge of Lieutenant Colonel, what's going on? You are due promotion next year after, you could carry on. And I was like, it's just not for me anymore. And I think the path probably started when we started talking, as I was getting more and more into my fitness coming out of lockdown, just coming out of lockdown.
It was 21 we first started talking,
I did the bodybuilding thing and I started gaining a little bit of traction on social media, people just asking for advice. And I was totally unqualified to give that advice outside anything but triathlon coaching. So I wasn't giving any. And so I thought, well, I'll go and get qualified. And it genuinely just started to roll from there because the more I did it, the more I loved it. And I think when you realize that you love something more than something else, you've got to run with it. You've got to go for it. Because otherwise I was just going to be miserable for the rest of my career. I don't want that.
Yeah. It's commendable put yourself first, didn't you? But let's rewind back to childhood. Where did you grow up?
So I was a pad brat. My old man served in the Royal Engineers, 38 years, man and boy. And so I grew up in the UK, in Germany, Cyprus, only child on, military camps, brilliant environment to grow up in, I think. Changing schools quite a lot. It took its toll, and I actually asked. I think I'm probably the only kid to ask, but I asked my parents to go to boarding school. I kept finding that no matter what school I went to, I'd either done the things that they were covering, or I hadn't done the things that I should have done, and so maybe started to just misbehave and play up a little bit.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I must have recognised that, and I had a friend. We were out in Germany together and she was going off to boarding school. She was like, maybe, I was 9, 10 at the time. And I thought, okay, that's maybe that's something for me. So I went to the Duke of York's Royal Military School down in Dover, put on a set of blues uniform at 11 for the first time. And I wouldn't change it for the world. It was a phenomenal experience.
Do you think that was going to boarding school, dad being in the military, was influential on you wanting to join?
In my childhood, it was the exact opposite. Okay. I didn't want to join the army. I think my mum reminded me of this. I wrote a poem I think I was in year 6, and I can't remember it, but it was all about what we wanted to be when we grow up. But the last line was, and if all else fails, I'll join the army like my dad. I just didn't want to. But then I think I did one of those career tick tests, and it came out as army officer, and I was about 14 at the time, 14, 15. I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. Can I take it again? And I kicked and I screamed, and they let me take it again, and it came out as army officer again. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So I applied to Welbeck College, and I went off to Welbeck College to do my A-levels, and from that, I still had like some highs and lows about wanting to join the military. And actually, prior to going to Sandhurst, so I'd finished Welbeck College, did my A-levels. They sent me off to university. I'd already signed on the dotted line by this and taken at the time, the Queen's shilling. And they sent me off to university, and there was an opportunity that came up to go and defer my entry to Sandhurst. And at the time, Prince William and Prince Harry were going through Sandhurst. They were oversubscribed. They were like busting for people to delay their intake. So I said, well, yeah, of course, I don't want to go anyway. So yeah, absolutely. And so I went out to New Zealand, became a skiing instructor. I went to Thailand, became a scuba diving dive master, and just spent what was around about, I think it was about 9 months just traveling about. And I don't know if this is the right place to say it, but there was a very distinct moment where I think the whole game about joining the army changed. And I was on a payphone outside a 7-Eleven on the island of Koh Tao in Thailand. I was on the phone to my dad, and I actually said to him, so I don't know how you're going to square this, but I'm not coming home. And I was so young and naive, right? And I said, I don't know how you're going to square this, but I'm not coming home. I don't know if you have to get in touch with, I don't know how it works, Sandhurst or the army or whatever. I just don't want to do it anymore. I've had offers for ski instructor positions out in Japan, and I'm going to spend my time between there and here in Thailand. Now, bearing in mind at the time, he was a late entry captain in the Royal Engineers, and I firmly expected him to just give me what for. But he didn't. He was so calm, and he just said, okay, son, 2 things. Firstly, if you don't come home and you don't turn up to Sandhurst when they expect you to, you will be posted AWOL and you'll be arrested as soon as you arrive in the country. But let's put a pin in that. And the real issue is that there was something that made you want to be an army officer. And if you don't come back and you don't live that out, I promise you, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And at the time it was, okay, yeah, cheers, Dad. Thanks very much. See you later. Phone goes down. But over the next few weeks that I was there, it just started building. And I was like, actually, this has to happen. I'm not going to live with that regret. Maybe he's right. And I've told him that. He can't remember the conversation, but I've told him that. I genuinely life-changing moment. Brilliant.
Was your dad a bit of a role model to you, wanting to join?
Yeah, I think... So I think back to both of my parents, and I think my mum and dad had massive, massive influences that I can probably only recognise fully a little bit later on in life. In terms of the military service, joined as a soldier. My dad joined as a soldier, went up the ranks, was just so good at his job. It's why we moved every 2 odd 2-3 years because of either promotion or he was just going on to a better job or whatever.
Yeah.
And now having the experience of knowing, what his career was, I can really appreciate just how well he did. And he always was involved with sport. He was involved with Army windsurfing for years, Royal Engineers snowboarding. He always pursued those things. And it really opened my eyes, even in my career, to the possibilities that were out there within the military. And so when it came time to put my name forward for regimental skiing, I would always say yes. I would say yes to everything, and maybe we'll talk about that as advice later. But I would always say yes to everything. I really got that and his work ethic from him. But then, in terms of a much sort of more deeply personal role model experience, my mum and the way she went about and lived her life, like both of my parents. As an only child, it's really easy to just plow all of your attention on one kid, right? But I think actually what I learned, particularly from my mum, is that life is for living, right? Life is for, and I don't want it to sound selfish, but put yourself first, because you have to pursue your own happiness. And I do hope she will watch this. But I don't think I've ever said...
Shout out, Mum.
I don't think I've ever... Shout out to Mum. I don't think I've ever said to my mum just how much I respect the decision she made to move to Jamaica. I was at college. So I'm like 17, 18 years old. And she'd met someone after my parents divorced. She met someone and they moved out to Jamaica. That was her pursuing her happiness. And I remember having conversations with my grandparents about it, saying, why are you so upset? She's doing something that she feels is right. Like, what's
making her happy?
Exactly. What's wrong with you? And I had those conversations with them, which is looking back, it's a big thing for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old to be having those conversations. But I don't think I've ever told her just how much I respect that decision. And it shaped, now I see, it shaped the rest of my life. Because I'm now a father to an 11-year-old boy, Harrison, who's just amazing. But the way that I live my life in the pursuit of hard shit and challenges and happiness and stuff, I'm bringing him along for the ride. And I'm a much better dad because I'm doing the things that actually fulfill me. Could
you then say, so if you'd stayed in and you were unhappy in your career, you wouldn't have been we'll call you a good dad. Would you not have been a dad that is as good as you are now if you'd stayed in service?
No chance. And I say that like with absolute clarity. I got to the point in my career where I couldn't see the enjoyment that came after. After leaving my subunit command, which is the best job ever, it properly shaped me, amazing job, with the Queen's Gurkha Signals. What's the next job? Staff college, a staff job somewhere in Andover or Northwood or somewhere else. First, geographically, that would have taken me away from my son. And whilst I've got a phenomenal relationship with his mum, like it's so relaxed and fluid. Like there's no friction when it comes to childcare or anything like that. I would have been absent for a whole week at a time because there were no jobs. So in terms of geography, that would have not worked. But secondly, and we'll talk about why I left, but I couldn't see future me being happy. Like no rank, no money, no status is going to fulfill me. I was in the army because I wanted to interact with human beings and lead humans. And I loved my career. I will not say a bad word about my career. It was amazing, but I jumped off at the perfect time.
And let's put us back to Sandhurst. So you obviously did go.
Yeah,
you did turn
I
up.
did.
How is that feeling? Week one, day one, turning up there, seeing the college,
So it's a phenomenal. It's still, it's such a phenomenal sight. You walk up the steps of Old College. You've got your ironing board under your arm. My mum and dad were there, and all thoughts of I don't want to do this anymore completely vanished. It was a bit overwhelming for about a day, but then, when you realize that the first 5 weeks is all about basic training, it's all about teaching you drill, teaching you how to iron, teaching you, basic military craft. Well, okay, haven't been serving, but I was in military boarding school since the age of 11. I knew how to iron. I used to earn extra pocket money by bullying everybody's shoes. Yeah. Like you get £2 for pocket money a week. And I used to charge people £1 or £1.50 depending on the state of their shoes. Yeah. I'd spend my whole Saturday just bulling shoes for parade on Sunday. Yeah. And I'd earn a boatload of money. Nice. What was a boatload of money at the time? So I knew all of that stuff. And actually the first 5 weeks, less, a bit of sleep and a bit of early mornings and, being shouted at, even if you know what's going on, like that's all part of it. It wasn't that difficult. Where it became hard was coming back after the first term. Like you go away, you've got your first 14 weeks or so, then you go away and you've got, a couple of weeks leave, and then coming back, all thoughts of, I don't want to do this anymore, completely returned. And I started going through interviews. I spoke to Old College commander. I was lined up for a commandant's interview. A lot of money's been invested in you, Welbeck College, you're going to have to pay that back. And there was all sorts of stuff going on. But I was just adamant I didn't want to be there anymore. And then...
Why?
I think I didn't understand at the time whether or not it was the career that I wanted or the career that I'd fallen into. And so I think I had in my mind that it wasn't necessarily my choice. It was, all right, I went to military boarding school. Then I went to Welbeck College. I did the TIC test. They said, go and be an army officer. I went to Welbeck College. I went to uni. I actually dropped out of university like 2.5 years in, and just had this massive crisis of identity. Like, do I really want to be in the army? They want you to be a certain thing, be a certain way. And I don't think I necessarily fit that. And when you're then put under pressure to do as you're told and iron your kit and all of that stuff, to go away and you sort of get used to it. First term, fine, okay, well, I'm here. What's the next day you got? And then you go away on leave and you go, oh, right, okay, this is what real life is. Coming back in was really tough. But then you go on an exercise. It's about, I think it's like 5 days into the second term, and it was called Royal Return. And it's essentially just an absolute thrashing. Like it's section attack after section attack after section attack. And it was a complete thrashing. And I loved it. Like, I don't know what happened, but I loved it. And I was like, okay, right, that's it now. I'm locked in. Let's go. Yeah. But yeah, it was a weird moment because I was so upset going on to that exercise. And then in the first section attack we did, something changed. I was like,
because at this point you didn't know you were going to join the Signals. You go through Sandhurst to become an officer, and at some point later is when you find out where you're going.
Yeah. So I was because of going through college, I was sponsored. It's not really a thing, but sponsored by Royal Signals, and I had in my mind that I was going to join the Signals, but I also had the Royal Engineers because of my dad. And if you're watching this, Dad, I am sorry. I don't think I've ever told you this either. I'd made my mind up that I was not going to join the Royal Engineers no matter what, because he's a big shadow. Yeah. Like my old man is a big character. You don't become a late entry officer without being known. And I was always a bit worried about that. So I wanted to forge my own way, which is really, it's interesting because, fast forward however many years, I'm now chair of Royal Signals Alpine Skiing, going to the same location as all the Royal Engineers and where my dad lives now in Neustadt in Austria. And he's known as the Major, right? Because he's been there for years. Now he's settled there. So this is embarrassing. Why am I saying this? So I got known as the Baby Major. And so, that shadow was cast no matter what. But yeah, it was the Royal Signals for me because I was sponsored. I like technology. I like, phones and computers and stuff like that, like using them, not necessarily knowing how they worked. And that's. And
why not infantry?
So when I started along the path of joining the army, my dad said, "You're not going to go in as a soldier. If you're going to join the army, you're going to go as an officer." I never quite understood why, because I was like, okay, well, I'll just join the army. I'll be a soldier, no problem. I'll follow in your footsteps and stuff, even though I didn't really want to. That was the progression. And he said, no, join as an officer. And then the pathway to that was Welbeck College. And from Welbeck College, they recruit into the technical course.
Yeah.
So the idea is they invest money in your education. They send you off to university. At A-level, I did maths, physics, electronics, and IT, and then started electrical and electronic engineering at university. So it was always a pathway into the technical course. And the thought of joining the infantry genuinely didn't, or anything else didn't really enter my mind.
Even more so because you had that first exercise and you were like doing sectional attacks. This is cool.
So, So they've got you because as a Welbeckian, even if I'd have said, no, look, this is absolutely what I want to do. I love this element of it.
Yeah.
As a Welbeckian, it's very difficult to join the infantry. Like they actively will. It's been done. A couple of my mates have done it, but you have to really make your case. And you have to really go after it. And actually, quite often, you end up joining a technical corps, and then transferring, which happened to a few people I know. But I guess the drive for me wasn't there that much.
So we're in Sandhurst. We've done our second term. Still enjoying it. Have you got any major highs and lows going through?
The major high was, and it sounds so trivial, but the major high for me was winning the march and shoot competition as a platoon. I was the platoon sergeant, and I think I was never really, even growing up, I was never really fit. I was always naturally fit, naturally athletic, can turn my hand to pretty much anything. But the one thing I've always been able to do is put the effort in, put the graft in. Even as a junior officer, I got a reputation for, if you've seen Lieutenant Collins, animal on PT. He wasn't. I definitely wasn't. But I was able to suffer. I was able to just grizz it out as much as possible. So winning that march and shoot competition, that was testament to, I'm not the fittest in the platoon, but I have to take on a leadership role. And Tony Richardson, who was our PTI, absolutely phenomenal bloke, just brilliant. He gave me a pep talk beforehand, and he was just like, "You're the platoon sergeant, right? Fuck officer cadet this. You're the platoon sergeant. You have a job to do." And I was like, yeah, I've got a job to do. And at the time, you're in this world, you're in this bubble, and it becomes the most important thing, to act as if you are that platoon stripey. It's really weird because you're in a training environment. None of this matters when you get out, but at the time, it is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that was the high. That was definitely the high.
And lows was there any lows?
Not after that first term. You can point to exercises like Marathon's Chase, which was a CBRN exercise, and you're in full Romeo, and your gas mask is filling with sweat. I'm a sweater, right? And my gas mask is filling with sweat, and you're like, do I do I lift it up? Like, we're on exercise. Like, this is not real if I lift it up and pull the sweat out. But then the consequences of being caught doing that are just not, not worth it. So yeah, you have those and I can't remember what our defensive exercise was, but digging in on Thetford training area, which is just chalk. Yeah. Like, it's just awful. And you're there and you're just digging and digging and digging, having hallucinations because you're sleep deprived and you're absolutely on your ass. I mean, those are the lower moments. But overall, you get through those low moments because of the people around you. Like, so this year is actually our 20th anniversary, and we're all meeting up in June. Our platoon meeting up in June down in London, and you just remember, like, we've got this WhatsApp group going now, and little stories are coming out, and like people are throwing up old photographs and stuff, and it seems like yesterday. Going through training seems like yesterday because it was such an intense experience. It's etched on your mind. But then you remember that we had 20 years of a career after that, or 18 years of a career after that before I got out. Everyone went off and did their own thing. And yet you're born into this unit that existed for a year. It was a platoon and a company and a training establishment. And yet I have an affinity with all of those people. Yeah. I think military training is a phenomenal crucible to partake in. And just
I agree.
Incredible.
I should have asked you at the start. How many people started training and how many passed out with you?
God.
Do you lose many at Sandhurst?
Do you know, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but when they leave, I think, what is it? It's probably like a 70, 80% stay on through the platoon. And then you get people who have had injury, and so they go off to Lucknow and they come in and that. But the vast majority of those sort of waste out or leave around about the 5-week mark. Okay. I think. So, you're told you've got to go through the first 5 weeks, your basic training and all of that. And then there's exercise long reach, which, depending on how you plan it, can be like 80 kilometers around the Black Mountains, which is something that like very few people will have ever done before arriving at Sandhurst. But yeah, I think 70 or 80% sort of going. I think by the time you get to, there's such a long selection process to go, that by the time you get there, the vast majority of people are capable. It's just because it's very much, I think the reason Sandhurst is so well renowned is that it is very much a train in rather than select out.
Yes.
You've a whole year. There's a lot of time there to form someone from civilian into army officer. And you also remember that as a second lieutenant, the role of Sandhurst is to just get you ready just for that first position, because a lot of your growth happens once you get to your unit. My first unit changed me as a person because of two people in particular, my sergeant major and my OC. But Sandhurst is just to prepare you just for that first unit. And so I think that you can then grow as an army officer. But I think by the time people get there, it's pretty strong.
Nice. And how was pass off for you?
Amazing. Like, so my dad came along, had his full uniform on. My mum came along, got all dressed up. I had family there. My grandparents, I've got pictures of my granddad and we'll definitely talk about why I got sort of more into sport with him. Came with his medals on, and just an incredible experience all round. And I think to be a part of that parade in particular, it's world renowned, the Sandhurst Commissioning Parade. And everyone's lined up, everyone's got their swords. It's just a great experience. It's a bit of a blur because all you're concentrating on, all you're focusing on is don't fall over.
Yeah.
Don't fall over. The Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, that was a weird thing to say, came and she was our inspecting officer. William was in my intake and she did the inspection. just an incredible thing. And then you have the commissioning ball afterwards. You know, you wear mess dress, but you have your pips all covered up. And then at midnight, you know, I've got a picture of both my mum and dad taking off the felt over my pips. Like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. Like it was all that time ago, but just a great experience. And we had like this casino thing, and yeah, it's just great to have so many of my family there, just supporting me on what was, I mean, it's probably the biggest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, joining the military, it set me up for the rest of my life. It's a great experience.
And might be controversial, not the distinction between a soldier and an officer. Yeah. How do you view the soldiers? Not just your soldiers, but how do you view them as a whole?
How do I view
soldiers compared to officers?
Okay. So I think the distinction largely comes down to accountability and leadership. I think when you are a second lieutenant, you're put into a position of authority with no experience. You have no credibility. You have very little subject matter expertise. And actually, you don't, like, you're not in charge. Like, your senior NCOs, they're in charge. You're just there. You're the one who, if it goes wrong, I think it's a key lesson to learn as an officer. If it all goes wrong, even though you had no idea it was going wrong, you had no input for it going wrong, you are still accountable. You are absolutely accountable, and you cannot shy away from that. But then I think you quickly learn once you learn that lesson, you quickly learn that the skills and the expertise that you bring to the table, they're not the technical, for the signals anyway, they're not the technical expertise. They're the management, the command, the leadership more than anything of those people to get the job done. So I think I always made the distinction that without an officer in a platoon, for example, or troop, things would still run. Things would still get done because, well, the lads know what they're doing. You know, I have very intelligent soldiers working for me. But my role is to get them to do the things when maybe they don't want to do the things. And I think there's the distinction. I don't know if I've ever explained that very well, but the soldiers are the heart, like the heart. Nothing can get done without soldiers. Nothing. Like, you put a bunch of officers in a room, yeah, they can make a decision. So what? Nothing gets done. And I think growing up as a pad brat, watching my dad as a soldier, as a junior NCO, as a senior NCO, as an officer, like I learned that very, very early on that the soldiers are the ones that matter. Like they matter because without them, there's no job. Nothing can get done. But the role of the officer is to lead. It is to inspire. It's to provide that direction. It's to provide that vision, to corral that effort to output something meaningful along a path, to get the job done, to get the mission done. I think when you take individual units and you look at the structure of any unit or the military or whatever, like individual groups of people all doing tasks is great, but where the officer cohort comes in is by getting those individual groups of people to all then pull in the same direction for something meaningful. I suppose does that answer the question? I think that's how I see
it's brilliant, brilliantly well explained.
Thanks.
And interesting as well to see your perspective on it. Whereas, you know, others we spoke to, like off camera and not naming names, it's, well, soldiers are there to do, not to think. And it's like, it's nice to hear your distinction and the understanding of, you know, like, yeah, I think that's brilliantly well said.
Yeah.
And it shows, I think, you as a character as well, you know, the respect you have for those that are on paper underneath you. but you don't see them as underneath. You see them as their equal to a job to do, which I think is, and that's what makes a good leader as well. You know, someone that doesn't look down upon someone, and you understand the roles, and you're there to lead.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think what's been the most remarkable thing since I got out, just on there, is the number of people that I have either bumped into at like a High Rocks or a triathlon or an ultra or whatever, who have recognized me and they've been like, "You were at this unit," and I was like, "Oh, cool." I was running around at High Rocks in Birmingham last year, and I was running alongside a bloke, and I was like, "I fucking recognize this bloke," and he just went, "Are you Major Collins?" I said, "I was," and he said, "You're the reason I'm doing this." It's like, what? He goes, you did High Rocks. And I was like, I did High Rocks after I was, getting out. And he said, yeah, but I've followed you on social media since this unit, and it blew my mind. It was absolutely incredible. And I think every time that, because I'm not afraid of putting myself out there, I am me. I have always been me. Individuality is your greatest asset. Like, I think you develop a bit of a, I don't know, if you've actually got something about you, if you're a bit of a character, people will not be afraid to say, I remember you from so-and-so, you did this. Like I've had coaching clients who I took through phase 1 training. Like, which it was a mate, he reached out, a guy called Nathan, just reached out and he's like, I don't know if you remember me, but this, and I immediately took a picture of one of the photos from my wall. And I was like, of course I remember you, Mr. Day. Here you go. There you are.
There you are.
Like, it's really, it's cool. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. So we've passed out of training. We're now going to our first unit. We've got some Herrick tours that are coming up, but where did you go first? What was your first posting?
16 Signal Regiment, 255 Signal Squadron out in Germany. And I count myself so lucky to get a Germany tour. I wanted to get away from the UK. I'd lived in Germany as a kid a little bit, always heard my dad speaking very fondly about, Germany, and it was a bit of fun. So I went out to 16 Sigs, was in 255. My sergeant major was Tony McBean, and my OC was Bill Anderson. And I mentioned those two names because of the profound impact that they had. I was a wayward junior officer. If I can say, good at my job, I sought popularity over respect. I'd go out on the piss with the soldiers.
Which isn't the done thing.
It's not necessarily the done thing. And some will say, oh yeah, that's great, getting in with the soldiers and stuff. But I was doing it because I wanted them to like me. I thought that was the path. Thinking back, I thought that was the path to good leadership. So I would go out on the piss. I would go to the all ranks club, often into the junior ranks club. And I always thought to myself, well, they're inviting me in, so be it. I can't get in trouble for this. Turns out you can.
You can.
And so I was good at my job, but was seeking popularity more than like respect. And I think it really, I think I caught it in time, or I didn't catch it in time. My sergeant major, Tony, did. Absolute legend of the Royal Signals. So he was our core badge, went on to commission. And I arrived in the unit in the August. We were preparing for Herrick 13 to leave in the new year. And we had a Christmas function, went along to the Christmas function, got absolutely upside down, and everyone was getting back on the buses to go. We were in town to go back to camp. And I got on the bus and I just shouted, "Who's coming into town?" And of course, junior officer, like, everyone erupted. Like, we're being told we can go out. He's in charge. I had one pip. I was in charge of nothing, but it's an authority figure, like I talked about earlier. So everyone erupted and everyone started getting off the bus. One of the staff sergeants told everyone, big, massive Fijian bloke, everyone sit the fuck down. You're not going anywhere. Sir, you're out of line. Now, did I recognize that I was out of line and sit down and do as I was told, which is what I should have done? No, of course not. I fought back. No, come on, let's do it. I'm really ashamed of it, to be honest, because it was not the way to behave. Anyway, the whole bus got off. We went into town. We got upside down. Nothing happened. Everything was great. We all went back in. Now, because the army has a way of doing these functions on a Thursday night, rather than on a Friday where you can recover over the weekend, we were in work Friday morning. I was late. I was hungover, not in a good state. Got into work, into the office, shut the door, sat on the big chair, just like, fucking hell, I'm not in a good way here. Knock at the door, open it. Sergeant Major wants to see you. Oh, shit. Okay, cool. Now, I got to know Tony a little bit, and I went in and I sat in his office, fully expecting the hairdryer treatment, fully expecting to absolutely unload. And he didn't. He gave me the worst, hard-hitting, disappointed dad chat that I have ever received in my life, even from my own parents. And I sat there and all I could think was, oh my God, I've let you down. I've let me down. I've let the OC down. I've let everyone down. I've let my soldiers down. And it crushed me, absolutely crushed me. And then Bill, the OC, just opened the door, put his head in, looked straight at Tony, didn't look at me, straight at Tony and went, everything okay? He went, yes, sir. He goes, is he going to be okay? Yes, sir. Okay. And he closed the door. That is such a powerful leadership lesson that I didn't recognize until a little bit later, that the OC trusted the Sergeant Major to sort this junior officer out, not in a way that's going to just berate him and make him feel, little and small. Because like I say, I was decent at my job. My character was just off, and it just took a little bit of realignment. And I'll never forget, there was absolutely another defining moment. And testament to Tony's character. And that carried on with Bill and Tony. They really shaped me. Testament to Tony's character. Fast forward a few years, I'm the adjutant at 30 Signal Regiment. He's turned up. He's just come from being Corps Badge. He's now a late entry captain. Walks into the office. How are you doing? We shake hands. We have good hug. And he sits there and we talk for 2 hours. Just about old times in Germany and now. And at the end of the conversation, he said, there was a time when you were a wet behind the ears second lieutenant, and I gave you a bit of mentoring. Now the tables have turned. It's your turn. I mean, that to me, what a man. Yeah. He's coming in as essentially, he's a late entry, but he's a junior in the officer world. He's new to the job, and he's asking for a bit of guidance. Just incredible. Tony sadly passed away from motor neurons disease whilst we were at 30. And I used to just travel up and down to Newcastle to go and see him as he was in decline. But I made sure he knew the impact that he'd had on that early career and that time at 30. Just amazing. So that really shaped me. And I think it sort of got me ready for going away on tour. Because again, really junior, I had a troop that we were in a role that we were going to be dispersed all over Regional Command South, which included Helmand Province, but other provinces as well. I was working for a Canadian, as a trilateral signal squadron as part of Regional Command South on Herrick 8. We had Canadian OC and 2 troops. My troop, which was dispersed all over, catering for the communications for some of the provincial reconstruction teams, and a Dutch troop as well. So really cool, environment. And about halfway into the tour, I got asked because the troop was running, once comms are in. It didn't take much more leadership. So I had spare capacity, and I got asked by my OC if I wanted an opportunity to go and work with some Americans. And so I sort of double hatted for a while for the last 3 months of the tour. And I went to be a liaison officer to a American Special Operation Task Force in their own parallel mission of Op Enduring Freedom, which opened my eyes. Like, as a second lieutenant, I'm reporting between the regional command headquarters, like, to this Special Operations Task Force. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I have no experience for this. But I think, again, it talks back to the point about Sandhurst, is that it gets you ready and teaches you how to think, not what to think. Yeah. And I think that's been then, that element of flexibility has just been prevalent throughout the rest of my career. So the second half of my Herrick 8 tour was not only managing my troop, but also as a bit of a liaison officer as well. It was mad. It's brilliant.
Any highlights for that tour?
Probably getting out on the ground with some of the Americans. They do things in a very different way. Yeah. Very different way. We had to get, ECM waivers and all of that, and all of that stuff.
Well,
it took a mammoth amount of effort, but getting out onto the ground with them, again, because I was really young as well, like cutting around in Humvees and then going out on patrol with the Americans and stuff. Like, it's just a wild experience. Really, really cool, really defining.
And I know people watching are going to want to ask, did you get yourself into any firefights? Or was there any soldiering that was done?
No, and I'll be really, really open about that. Really open, because I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
I wasn't an infantry soldier. There was contact, but it wasn't anything. I was about to say special then, but yeah, it wasn't a bit scary, but not a particularly like intense experience. So yeah, not really. And I don't think, it's a really interesting point, right? Because I think people have this preconception that if you're in the army, everyone has done that.
Yeah.
And it should be absolutely okay to say,
no, absolutely.
I didn't. I had a rich career. My army career was about my leadership of the soldiers in the technical space.
Yeah.
Doesn't
the guys that have experienced
stories.
warfighting is such a small, minute percentage of our forces and of people worldwide. Like, not that many people have gone and experienced it. And it's, Tegs, he had a lot of abuse in his early days. Like, oh, you're a Marine and you haven't even been to war. It's like, sorry that I was born after the war.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really sorry that my mum didn't birth me in time for Herrick.
Damn that date of birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit more, I think, than certainly, obviously, a bit more when I went out with 3 Para on Herrick 13. So, because after 16-6, I went to a training establishment, took soldiers through phase 1 training. Again, like I actually said this in my dine out speech. My career is like a highlight reel of my life. Like, I genuinely see it as the best moments that I've been through. They're, low moments and high moments. It's all the same thing. Like, it's just amazing. And I loved phase 1 training. Absolutely loved phase 1 training. Like, my training, again, this is my character, but they got me a sweatshirt with FOC written on the back, Friend of Crow. Like, because my job's not to scream and shout at the recruits or the soldiers under training. My job is to get the best out of them, and they need a psychologically safe space. I know that might sound like a very woke thing to say.
No,
but it's about trust. It's about empathy. If you want to instill discipline and reaction skills, then yes, okay, some shouting and stuff need to be done, but it doesn't need to be done by me. Like, that's not the job.
And there are people that have specific jobs and specific roles to do to train people, be it soldiers or officers. When we was in training, our screws were our friends and leaders. The platoon sergeant, though, he's the screamy, shouty, 100%. Angry man, and it was like,
and there's a role to play.
Absolutely, but if you needed it, then it switched it off. Like, I remember my sister was in a really phenomenally bad car crash, hit head on by a lorry, absolutely fine in the end. I mean, broke hip, leg like mad, and going in, but then I got to see our platoon sergeant, and I was like, "You're really nice."
Yeah.
And he couldn't have done any more. Like, let's get you home. Let's get you done. We're going to do this. And everyone has their role to play to bring people to where they need to be. And it's, Absolutely. If everyone's screaming and shouting, no one would join. Well, no one would join the army. A lot of people would not stay.
Yeah, that absolutely is the point. I think when you're a phase one training instructor, whether it, as a junior NCO, senior NCO, officer, or whatever, you have to remember that the people that are coming through, everyone did it at some stage. The people who are coming through don't know what they're expecting. Like, they have this media portrayal and the recruiting videos and all of that, but they don't really know what it's like to be in the military. And if you just take them from day one and just absolutely hammer them with what you think the military is all about, you're going to lose people, and you're going to lose good people as well.
Yeah.
And it's not, the best people are not those who can just take it. You got to take the banter. No, they're not the best people. The best people are those who can be an individual within the confines of a set of rules, and so that everyone is pushing in the same direction, but can think autonomously. You talk about that conversation you had with someone like soldiers are the doers, they're not there to think. I believe firmly the other way. Like, they're the ones with the knowledge. They're the ones with the skill set. I used to constantly say, particularly as a squadron commander, like, whether you're a troop commander or you are a signaller, private soldier, I was very fortunate to command Gurkha soldiers. Honored is the word I would use. But whether you are a troop commander, whether you're my ops officer, 2IC, one of the signallers, come to me with what you think the best solution is and have me make the decision. This or this. What do you think? I think this. We'll go with that then. And then we'll see whether it works out. And I think, coming back to the role of the officer is to instill that trust, because ultimately the subject matter expert is the one who is going to have the best solution. Not always. And if it goes wrong, then take the accountability for it and say, yeah, okay, it didn't go wrong, but we'll try something else. But you need to get them to a point where they're not afraid of trying something, not afraid of innovating, not afraid of making a decision. And that starts at phase one training. Like, if you are just constantly told that you're a piece of shit, you're beasted for everything that you do wrong, like, you're going to come out of that thinking that that's just the way. And that is going to inculcate a toxic culture, which will just carry on throughout your entire career.
It just constantly rolled downhill, and it was, I remember going through training, chatting to some other guys and getting to our battalion and thinking, he's being all right to me. Like, when's it going to start? And, the Vikings, when Royal Anglian, we were a very grown-up battalion. It was very much like big boy rules. We didn't have any of this like weapon cleaning on a Friday afternoon. Mad Mick, our CO at the time, would like come in. Have a chat Friday after CO's PT, and he'd always listen to the blokes. And there was none of this like doing a room inspection, like standing by your beds. It was always big boy rules. And it was, we're a commendable battalion. It was, chatting to them lads. I'd see them on like promotion card as the house. Always like angry at everything, thinking,
that sounds like a really positive environment.
We don't have any of this. Like, again, when's it going to start? Like, surely, and there was a few guys that were just like dicks. Like, I had a lad, Lance, just didn't like me for whatever reason. He'd wear my protein powder that I had in tubs and break my room door. And
is that the new flavour?
Yeah, that's where unicorn piss came from. You're always going to get something like that. But as a whole, we had a really good, strong, like, family battalion. And again, because we had good leaders, all of our officers were phenomenal. And I remember distinctly once, our second lieutenant on tour, Adam Peters, he was told off by our OC, and he called him by his first name. And we were like, wow. He basically fell asleep on Stag, on Radio Stag as an officer. But because of the family mentality we had, no one took the piss out of him.
Yeah.
We were like, it's all right, sir.
You've made a mistake.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
And because he owned it. And, we had nothing else to say about our ROC. We had a very open door policy, either taught in camp. And it was, because good leaders, because you're not screaming and shouting and you're doing this, you're doing that. And it was always really good. Yeah. So I think people like you are a testament to what the British Army should be. So it's, it makes it a better place, and it makes it operationally effective, If people are there and they hate you, they hate the army, they hate that, you're not an effective soldier. You're not an effective fighting force.
My commanding officer, my CO, Neil Stoko, he's civil service now, works at the Home Office. Our role at 36 when I was adjutant was deploying people fast notice all over the world. And I went on to be the ops officer of that unit as my last ever job. And I took with me like his words. And he always said that culture will eat strategy for breakfast. And when you're asking people to leave their families at 4 hours notice to move to go anywhere in the world, best you make sure that their families are catered for, and best you make sure that they feel valued, because if they don't feel valued and they don't feel as though they're worth anything, they're not going to have their kit ready to go. They're not going to want to do it. And when you're asking people to go around the world at 4 hours notice to move, we're talking leaving kids' birthdays, just anniversaries, family gatherings, at 4 hours notice to move, you cannot be more than 20, 30 minutes away from camp. And we were holding people at that readiness for months at a time. You've got to look after them. Yeah. And so if you ever have an opportunity to believe them, to trust them, to give them time off, to invest in them, their education, their physical fitness, anything like that, you do it. You take it. And I think I learned, again, a lot from Neil. I think we worked really well together because that was always my view as well. You've got to look after your people because like we all know, and let's not get political about this, but we all know that the military has been underfunded and underinvested in for years, even throughout Afghanistan. Yeah. Like even throughout Afghanistan and Iraq, we've been underinvested in. And what has meant that we have still been the reference army, best in the world and all that, are people. Because they're willing to do the things even when it's shit. And that's why you've got to place them first. Yeah, you're gonna ask them to do shit stuff. So you make them want to do the shit stuff by treating them right to begin with. And
it also comes down to like leading by example. You'd never ask someone to do something you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. No. I think we all carry it over into Civvy Street as well. I'd never ask any of the guys here to go and clean our toilets if I wouldn't do it myself. So it carries on from the absolute bottom to right at the top. You've got to lead by example, haven't you? And if you treat people right, they'll want to work for you. And I think Richard Branson said it. It was, treat people so good that they can leave and give them all the qualifications to leave. Treat them so well they don't want to.
Yeah,
and absolutely. It's, absolutely brilliant. We touched on another tour, Herrick 13, with 3 Para. How was this? What occurred?
So I mean, I fell into that role. I was at phase 1 training and I got an opportunity to go and be the regimental signals officer for an artillery regiment. And at the time, the Royal Signals were trying to give out Royal Signals officers to go and do the job of a regimental signals officer particularly for tours. Because no one wants to do comms.
Yeah.
And they're like, go and do that. And I got the opportunity. They said, you have to do this. But because I was a non-grad, I spent longer at second lieutenant. So I did 2 years as a second lieutenant. That sucks.
Yeah. It's normally a year.
It's normally a year if you've got a graduate. And then another 3 years as a lieutenant. So 5 years in total. If you've got a degree and you get 3 years seniority or 2.5 years, whatever it worked out as, you did like 1 year as second lieutenant and then another 1.5 years as a lieutenant. And then you're a captain. But because I had all that time, I sort of said, okay, well, I'm going to go and do phase 1 training. Then I'm probably going to go and do a second tour troop command. This is going to be amazing. I took it as a real opportunity. I was like, I get to do these jobs again. And so I'd sort of delayed going on what was the junior officers tactical awareness course, JOTAC, until after phase 1 training. But when this job came up, they said, it's an acting captain's role. You have to have your JOTAC. So I said, all right, fine. So I went and asked my OC, can I go on this? And he blocked it for a number of weeks and said, no, like you'll miss 2 weeks of the course of this intake. And it was like I think it was even 1 week because I'd said I'd go and do it in leave and then get it done. And it was 1 week and it was week 1, which is not, I mean, as an officer, you have very little to do with it in week 1. There's a few interviews and stuff, but they can happen in week 2. Like it's a bit of baptism of fire, you get all your kit issued, you marched around the place and it's like really entry stuff. So I was quite annoyed. So I made my case, lost the artillery role, and they said, look, we needed an answer. And I was like, okay, great. So my adjutant said, sorry, you've lost that role. But I had booked the place on JOTAC. So it's like, all right, well, can I still go? Like, yeah, you can still go. So I went. And there was a guy in there, and we went round the table, and they're like, oh, what do you do, etc. I said, oh, I'm at phase 1 training. And this guy said, I'm the Regimental Signals Officer 3 Power, and I fucking hate it. And I was like, okay, you're hating it. And I don't know why I even thought to go and ask. What authority have I got? So we had a brew, and I just said, you hate your job? He's like, yeah. I keep getting promised this job as an FST commander, but no one wants to be the RSO, and so I'm stuck. And I was like, I want to be the RSO. And this is not how career pathways work in the army. This is not how that conversation should not have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But because I was at phase 1 training, and because I had a bit of a mouth on me, I rang directly our desk officer up in Glasgow. And I said, I'm currently on JOTAC. There's a Regimental Signals Officer in 3 Para who doesn't want to be in the job, and they're looking for a replacement. I know I lost out on that artillery job. Any chance we could make this work? Tom, you should not be calling me. You should not be talking to me about this stuff. Like, go through your adjutant. I was like, but I'm at a phase 1 training establishment. The adjutant doesn't deal with this stuff. He said, okay, we'll go through your Squadron 2 IC. So I did, and I got back off JOTAC, and anyway, the conversations were had, and next thing I know, they've gone to Corps headquarters. I've asked, would you give up one of your officers to do this job? And because of the conversations that I've had, now this was a recurring theme, I'd sort of started telling people that I was going for the RSO job. It's not true. It's not true at all. I have no authority. There's not an application process. But because I'd started telling people, word had got to Corps headquarters, and the Corps colonel said, yeah, Tom Collins could go and do that job. And so out of nowhere, because you just start telling people it's going to happen, I got a phone call, would you like to go and be the RSO at 3 Para? It's like, yes, I fucking would. And as soon as I said yes, I absolutely shit my pants, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have my wings. I don't do anything. And so I spoke to the guy who was in the job, and he said, number one, you need to get your wings. We'll go through the training wing. We'll book you on P company. You need to get your wings. Otherwise the blokes won't respect you. And I bought into it, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Let's get that booked. I arrived at battalion and went for my first interview so I went and saw the adjutant, and when I saw the CO, and as I went in, and the adjutant was like, okay, so you're booked on your Regimental Signals Officer course. And I said, oh, I think I'm supposed to be doing P company. And he just sort of laughed at me, and he was like, what? No, you're here as the Regimental Signals Officer. No one gives a shit if you've got your wings or not. And I was like, oh, okay, is that true? I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
And then I went into the CO's office, James Coates, just phenomenal. And he sat me down and we talked and stuff. And he wanted to know about me. He wanted to know about my background. Great leader, great CO. And at the end of the conversation, he said, so you booked on your Regimental Signals Officer course. And I thought, this is not the time to raise that I wanted to go and do P company. You booked on your RSO's course. Are you going to come top of that course? It's like, I'll certainly try, sir. And he said, this is 3 Para. We come top of the courses. I was like, okay. Sure. Yeah, no worries. Off we go. And so went on the course, and it was great. And then pre-deployment training.
Did you come top of the course?
I did come top of the course. But I mean, I'm a Royal Signals Officer. If I hadn't, that would have been a problem.
Yeah.
So got back to battalion, pre-deployment training. On one of our last exercises, one of the intelligence officers who I'd known from college, a guy called Andy, came in and told me that one of our mates from college had just died out in Afghanistan. He was Royal Gurkha Rifles, guy called Neil Turkington. Just phenomenal bloke. Someone Green Forces, walked into the ops room, RPG straight in. not good. And it sort of, I don't know, it woke me up to what I was about to go and do. Because the first tour, like I've said, like it wasn't, particularly exciting in the traditional sense. I had a great tour, but it wasn't that. And so it sort of woke me up to what, in fact, I tell you, Neil, interested. I find it interesting. We were at college together, Neil Turkington and I, and we decided that we were going to take up boxing at 16. And he was the first person to ever give me a real fucking thump. We had boxing gloves on, we were doing our green glove, and I didn't have my guard up. We were just sparring, and he gave me this absolutely massive hook straight around my jaw, straight around my chin, bang, and it knocked me to the ground. And again, I felt it was at the time like hurt and oh my God. But I think that was the very first time I realized that I'm not made of glass. And that's a great lesson to learn when you're a kid. Yeah. Like when you realize you're not made of glass, like that is a great lesson to learn. So yeah, always thank Neil for that. So yeah, but after PTC, we went out to Nadley North, and that tour was so interesting because when we got there, we'd taken over from the Theatre Reserve Battalion, which was the Lancs, and their role was very, very straightforward, as in that they had very defined mission. Establish, leave it alone. Don't go out. Couldn't step out of their CPs. Yeah. Like it was horrendous. And the approach that the CO and Three Power took was, okay, we'll establish and then push the boundaries. And then by the end, like the lethal force that was being used was massively reduced. It was the time of General Petraeus and his courageous restraint, not firing unless you have to and all of that. And it was such an interesting tour, learning and seeing that high level leadership from a true infantry leader. It's just great. And because of the work that he did, we had brigade commander come down. We had General Petraeus come down. We had CGS, Rob Wall come down. We had CGS, General Davies come down. Like it was incredible the influence that we were having in the region. And I always look at that as what I learned about that tour was how to operate a higher level of leadership at the commanding officer level. Just brilliant. And he was someone who absolutely cared that people knew what they were doing and then trusted. He trusted his company commanders, steered the battalion on the battle group through some losses. He was absolutely phenomenal. And I think I find myself thinking back to the opportunity that I got, scaly back officer, to go and be embedded with, present company accepted, the finest infantry soldiers that the army has got to offer. Just how lucky that I was to have that opportunity. And that's when I say, my career was a highlight reel. That's up there because non-winged, scaly back, and actually one of the most valuable lessons I learned is they didn't give a shit that I didn't have my wings because I was good at my job and I gave a shit about them. They didn't care. No one cared. Can you keep up on PT? Yeah, cool. That's as far as that went.
And what did that do for your mindset? Being respected, you've been told this thing and you're actually people are respecting me because I'm good at my job.
Yeah. Well, it's that. And I think that then it spoke to me that actually your character and competence matters way more than your rank, your qualifications, your position. Character and competence count so much more. And I then took that into every job that I had then after. I went on Squadron 2IC with some London ceremonial work behind the scenes at Buckingham Palace, to adjutant, to a London-based staff job, Squadron Command. an amazing environment to be a part of, where you were valued for who you were and what you bring to the table, rather than the rank on your chest. Like, and that was something that really stayed with me. Like, I think we were going through a planning cycle, and there was a particular mission, and it was going to be out of the range of battle group headquarters for our VHF comms. And they went through this whole planning and stuff, and I was trying to put my input, and it was quite early on, trying to put my input and say, look, we're out of planning ranges, we're going to have to do this. We're going to need rebros, we're going to need, because everyone had become really reliant on satellite, and ultimately that wasn't as reliable as maybe we had thought, and we didn't have all of the resources. Not everyone could be on a TACSAT. And we did this planning cycle, and I remember distinctly a guy called JB. Wow, this is a really weird moment. He's now one of my coaching clients. He was the ops officer, and everyone was talking around the table, and it was, very loose planning cycle. Everyone's, talking, and he just quietened everyone down and just handed to me, the non-para-reg bloke in the room. He just handed to me and said, is this going to work? And I was like, no. Okay, we'll break. You need to come up with a plan of how it is going to work, and then we'll come back. And I was like, fuck, I'm really valued here.
Yeah.
Like, and I genuinely feel throughout that entire tour, whether it be the soldiers, the other officers of the mess, I felt valued. And because I felt valued, my fucking God, I dug out blind. That was a really cool lesson to learn about how people feel, rather than just what they say and what they do. That life should be about making sure that you surround yourself with those people who want you to win, but making other people come along for the ride is all about making them feel valued, making them feel as though they've got something to offer, because they do. Yeah. Like, everyone's got something to offer. You just maybe need to find out what it is. And you don't find out what it is if all you're going to do is just tell them and ignore them. And yeah.
Ultimately, though, you came down saying the army wasn't for you. How did that transition come about, though, from like hearing your passion in your voice, like some of the best job you've ever had, absolutely loving it, to then, if I stayed in the army, I wouldn't have been a good dad, and I would have been miserable?
Yeah. So I think that started, like, so there's I think particularly as an officer, where you move every 2 years, everyone says, a change is as good as a break. Sometimes it's not. And you get thrashed and then thrashed and then thrashed. And just as you're at breaking point, you change jobs, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this will be different. And then
the cycle continues.
So I was in a staff job in London, and after that, it was subunit command. I wanted to command Gurkha soldiers. From 30 Signal Regiment, where I was adjutant, I had an exposure to Gurkhas. I started getting invited to messing, just like social gatherings, not just because I was adjutant, but I started getting invited to the ones where the CO wasn't necessarily invited, down at squadron level, down at troop level, which was odd because I'm a senior member in the regiment. But because I'd taken the time to get to know a bit about the Gurkhas and their culture, their Qaeda, that was a real cool sort of moment. So I always knew that I wanted to command and lead Gurkhas. So when we were putting in our subunit commands, you got to fill out that PPP, and you got to put 8 choices down. And I put 4. And I said, I want 248 Gurkha Signal Squadron. And then I listed the 3 other, or 2 other, and then the one that was coming online, Gurkha Signal Squadron. Sent it off to APC. Tom, you need to put more down. And I had the conversation. I said, if you don't assign me to a Gurkha squadron, I really don't care where you send me. I don't care. Like, send me anywhere you like. This is all I want. Would love 1 to 3, and then I wouldn't mind with the 4th squadron that was coming online. Well, that's pretty bold. I was like, well, you're not getting anything else from me. That's it. That's all I want. And then I spoke to my previous CEO, who was a full colonel by then. Might have been a 1-star, either way. And I messaged him and I said, I've put in my PPP. I'm not sure if I've made a mistake, but I've done all the Gurkha squadrons and nothing else. And he went, is that what you want? I was like, yeah. He goes, then you haven't made a mistake. He goes, also, I'm on the board. I was like, okay. Okay. Now we're both out now, so this is fine. But the way that they do those boards, they go around the table and they go down the list of names and they go down the list of squadrons, and it came to 248 Gurkha Signal Squadron. And as it goes, Neil went, Tom Collins is perfect for that role. Any questions? No questions. Tom Collins next to the name. And I was at a country gig at the time with Luke Combs, and I just got a text message off him before the board results had been released, and he just said, how's your Nepali? I was like,
nice.
Yes. So I was so happy. So that Squadron Command was the best job I think I could have ever had. Like, we went through COVID. We went and built the NEC Nightingale Hospital in Birmingham. And it was genuine. It was the biggest test of leadership, because it was almost leadership, remote leadership. And everyone, like, nobody, with the Gurkha soldiers, they're a community. Like, they need to be together. And so now we're all disparate and dispersed. That was a real test. So I had to think of ways that I was going to do it. And I used fitness. And I know this is long-winded, but this is where it sort of started. I used fitness. And I said, right, we're going to do Zoom PT a couple of times a week, but started really early. Like, before it became a thing, we were doing it. And I would go out on a run or something every single day, and I'd say, we're allowed people to join us. They were in the rules and stuff, who's coming out. And I would just have a rota of people running with me every single day, so that I could still get to see them. I could still get to know. I could still get to see if they're all right. Look them in the eye from even a couple of meters away and just make sure they're okay. And that continued throughout COVID. And I set the mission to my team. And I said, my number one priority coming out of, whilst we're in lockdown, is that every single soldier emerges fitter than when we went in. The education and all of the online stuff that everyone seems to worry about, and the tick boxes and getting your mats done and all that, Sergeant Major, make sure that happens. I care that everyone is fitter when they come out, because I truly believe, and I believed it at the time, that when you focus on your physical health and your physical well-being, everything else falls into place. You become disciplined, you have clarity of mind, you've got more energy, you're just a wholly less irritable person. So I focused on that. And we did. And we came out, and it was at the same time we come out of lockdown as the new RFT was coming about and stuff, and they smashed it. Like, absolutely smashed it. So that was really cool. I mean, I could wax lyrical about my time with the Gurkhas, because it was life affirming. Like, so, I've got Hami Justal Kuhi China. There is no one quite like us. I've got my cross kukris on my arm. Just a phenomenal experience. And exiting that job, that was really the beginning of me thinking, okay, this is not for me anymore. And I think it really came down once I was working late. It was in the ops room. And there was a stack of policy documents on my desk, and I was the regimental ops officer, so it's not unusual. And I counted them. I don't know what the number was, but I know for a fact that the overriding thought in my head was, I have more policy documents on my desk than the number of humans that I've spoken to today. That's not a good place for me. And if this is how it's going to be, I need to be doing something else. And so that was leaving Squadron Command was the catalyst, but then that sort of really
was that
reaffirmed.
like the pin had dropped, like
yeah, I think so. That and we might come on to it when for the advice, but I've always been and always will be an individual character, and I think that I'd started pursuing my fitness in a major way. It was like my defining feature. But throughout the military, you get people who are really fit and they get known for being really fit in a one area. For me, I don't know whether it's boredom or that I just like doing lots of stuff. But, you know, way back when I first started sort of triathlon, and this was wasn't like at the start of my career. I was never, you know, like I said earlier, I just used to be able to grizz it out. But when I started triathlon, it was because of a conversation that I had with my grandfather, my granddad. We used to have this banter back and forth about what it took to be fit in the army in his day versus my day. I said, well, I've done 2 tours of Afghanistan, Granddad. One was with 3 para.
Yeah.
He said, come back to me when you've done 5 tours and they're all a year long, sunshine. I was like, okay. I've done a sprint triathlon. I'll do an Ironman. And I'll never forget it. He said, Thomas, do you know what your problem is? You're all mouth and no trousers. And I was like, I'm not. I'll do one. And I never did. And then he died at the night of or after a family wedding. And I went up. He had a heart attack. Tried to bring him back with BLS. It sadly didn't work. And it had a real profound impact on me. And on the train home from this weekend, this wedding, I entered 2 Ironmans. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I've got it now.
Yeah.
And after that, like I didn't really train very hard. I gave all the excuses in the world. Oh, I'm desk bound and stuff. It's all nonsense. I could have absolutely done it. But I did it just to get round. And so I did. And that sort of then started. And then I went into ultramarathon running. And then in lockdown, that was when I started really focusing on strength training. I borrowed a load of kit from our CrossFit box that I'd just started at, 2 months before we went into lockdown. I was good at running at the time, like took the squadron on half marathons and in Stafford, got my PB, and then lockdown hit, all of my events got cancelled.
Yeah.
And I'd been into ultramarathon running and stuff for a while and long distance obstacle course racing and stuff. And it just sort of all just fell a bit flat. So I started lifting dumbbells and skipping in my kitchen, and really got into the strength training. So then, for whatever reason, I saw an old corporal of mine, Wayne Barker, getting shredded on Instagram. And I was like, what's going on, mate? And he goes, I've started bodybuilding. I was like, fucking okay, cool. I think I'd quite like to give that a go. No, I'm not a big bloke, right? But I was like, I'll give that a go. Yeah, why not? I was 38 years old at the time. Yeah. I'll give that a go. And so ended up doing a whole season of bodybuilding, got on stage, did 5 shows, came second at a national comp, 5th in this international. Like I was in it. I loved it. And it started attracting a bit of attention from the soldiers in the regiment, all positive. Guys and women started coming to the gym like at the same time as me, because I managed. Yeah. Well, I'd managed to get the gym open at 6 o'clock in the morning, whereas before it was 7. And I was like, I can't do 7 because I need a 2-hour session and then I got to get to work. So I'm going to need that gym open at 6. Can we change policy? Can we do something? Yeah. Are you happy to open it up, sir? Yeah, I'm happy to open it up. Is there going to be a PTI there because I'm not qualified or anything? And one of the PTIs was like, I've been busting to get this gym open at 6 o'clock, so I want to do my training in the morning. It's like, well, there you go. There's an unlock. Happy days. Yeah. So I was going to the gym every day, and more people started showing up. And so from the soldier side, it was really positive. I got double hatted. Not afraid of using the word hat. Not got wings. And I was double hatted as OC support squadron. And so on a Monday morning after a competition, I'd arrive like in some very bad taste fancy dress, let's say, just tanned up to the max. And I'd just stand there and I'd go, okay, you've got 30 seconds. Let me have it. And oh my God, the abuse and everything we do. And I'd be like, okay, we're done. Happy days. Thanks very much. And then we go on our day. Like, because I've got to embrace that. Yeah. Like, I look stupid. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to hide from that. Even took a regimental parade like it once. So yeah, getting that. But then on the other side, started getting a little bit of, I don't know whether it was like skepticism, cynicism, whatever it is. I got questioned about my affiliation with Combat Fuel, which really got my goat. Questioning, is it right that you should be the Rice Mile, because we've had this conversation, is it right that you should be endorsing a company that isn't on Informed Sport? Fine. And then, is it right you should be giving out a discount code that you might get some support from the brand from? And it really annoyed me, because this is a veteran-owned brand that supports currently serving people. Take out the fact that it's a supplement company. Take out the fact that there's a discount code or whatever. What better organization to be involved with than something, a person in you, but also a brand and a company that looks after veterans, looks after currently service personnel. It was just mad to me. And it all, then the questions of, should you be working out so much? You should be in the office at a certain time. Fucking hell. What is this? Am I failing at my job or not? No, I'm not. Well, then leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I think it just sparked a little bit more, or just it pushed me further down the path of, if this is going to be where I'm at, I probably don't want to be in this organization. I think because the military as a whole, and it's taken a while to sort of think about this, but the military as a whole is a phenomenal machine to be a part of. The support structures, everything as an organization, is amazing. Yeah. But you have to always remember that organization is made up of individuals. And one of the differences, again, between being soldiers and officers is the higher up you get as an officer, the less people have a say in your career. You have your own say, of course, by being competent and applying for jobs, etc. But the less people write your report. As a junior soldier, you have, your senior NCOs and your troop command, but then you've also got your OC squadron and your 2IC and the other officers within the squadron who all know you. And if a report goes to the board that is just off, then that report gets changed. Yeah. The higher up you get, your report starts being looked at by less and less people. Yeah. And so the power that those individuals have over your career, it becomes a lot more significant. And I started thinking in these terms, and I thought, well, actually, I don't want less people in charge of what I do. I want to be in charge of what I do. I want to live my life in a way that is meaningful for me, that no one gets to define my ceiling. And I think all of those factors cobbled together started to really play into it. And with the bodybuilding and being affiliated with Combat Fuel, like I said earlier, you start to get a little bit of questions, some attention. Can you help me out? Do you write programs? Because I was getting in I felt like shit, but I was in phenomenal shape to go on stage. I thought, well, actually, I quite like this. So I went and qualified to be a PT, added it to some triathlon coaching quals, and then okay, well, I reckon I could do this. Set up what was at the time PT with TC, because someone told me the name needed to be podcastable. So I was like, yeah, PT with TC. But originally when I set up the account, I'd forgotten. Originally when I set up my Instagram PT with TC, it was not because I was going to become a personal trainer. It was genuinely physical training with TC, PT with TC. And the reason was because I said to the people that had questioned my affiliation with Combat Fuel, all right, well, I won't put up anything military on this account. Yep. It's just going to be me working out. And then you got not a leg to stand on, because what I do with my own personal comms is entirely up to me. Yep. And if I'm not representing myself as an army officer or in the army in any way, you've got absolutely no leg to stand on. And it's funny, isn't it? Because anyone who goes to my PT page, you would really struggle to find anything about the military. Yep. It's in there. Every remembrance. I got some traction with some controversial opinions I've got about Armed Forces Day. But I don't really shout about it because it was an amazing part of my career. It made me who I am. But the people who I want to coach, they're not necessarily training for the army. It's not the only thing about me. And I think that was the main thing. When I realized that the army, I didn't want the army to define me, then I need to go and do something else.
And you said something just before we started recording, which is you had always identified yourself meeting someone as, oh yeah, I'm Tom Collins.
Yeah.
I'm army officer, left 2 years ago. Now I'm an online coach. But that's changed now. Now I'm Tom Collins, an online coach.
Yeah, that, and it came as a massive surprise as well. When I left, the first few months, like because of resettlement and stuff, I left the office in the August, and I wasn't actually out of the army until the February. And I got 2 months, my sort of last hurrah for army downhill skiing for the back end of my career. So I had to get a haircut and shave.
Yeah.
And I went out and went and did the army championships for the last time. Because skiing has been so important throughout my career. From junior officer taking a regimental team away to captain of the core team to chair of Royal Signals Alpine Skiing. It's always been that thread. And so it's really important to me that I managed to fit that into resettlement. And my CEO was great about it at the time. He was just like, yeah, no worries. You can fit it in. We can make it work. So I'd left the office quite like out last day in uniform quite a while before I left the army. But then that first year, I was waiting to be assigned into a reserve position as an OC squadron because I didn't feel as though I wanted to leave. I just didn't want to be regular forever. And so I found it really easy to transition, or I thought I did. I thought I was finding it super easy to transition. I was still speaking to everyone. Still had my hand in with the reserve. I was still going to Gurkha functions and stuff. Like no issue. And then I decided I was squadron OC for a little while, but I couldn't give it the time, care, and attention. The business was where my focus was, providing for my son. So I couldn't give it the care and attention. I just stepped away. I said, look, I wanted to do this, but if I'm not going to do the job right, these soldiers deserve way more than I've got to offer. And so I stepped away and let someone else go in. But about a year after I left properly, and I remember it was just before I was stepping away, but they told me I need to go and do the RFT fitness test. So I went on to camp. And I did all of the things, and I ran around camp, and I was on my own. And I was wearing my old squadron t-shirt, 248. Yeah. And as I was going around, because it was on Stafford where I was a squadron commander, you get recognized. And I had, Jai Gurkha, go on sub. Like it was really cool. Like, and I was seeing people, I was waving to them. I'm like hanging out my arse on that 2K loop, like trying to come in under 7 minutes. And I'm around, and I got back home and I recorded a video, which I then didn't post. And then I did, and it really hit me. I just burst into tears. And all I could think was, fuck, I've made a terrible mistake. Like I miss it. I really, really miss it. And that feeling then lasted for months, and it was really difficult. I spoke to Matt Spruce about it. Yeah. I've spoken to Harry McInnes about it. And I was like, what is going on? Like, have I made this fucking terrible mistake? And then anxiety starts building because it's like, well, if I went back in now, they're going to hold me at that rank. I've lost out being a lieutenant colonel now for another few years. And then I'm going to be 50. I was like, oh my God. And all of these feelings just really hit me. But over time, they started to dissipate. As I started coaching more people, as I started recognizing the impact that I was having on it. This is another thing I've totally shied away from saying, like the positive impact I was now having on people's lives. The life-changing experience people have had from being coached by me started to bring me back. I was awake again. And so this last few months, so I did leave 2 years ago in February, but these last few months, it's the first time I've caught myself not defining myself by what I used to do. I don't have a lot of content about the military online, but I still thought of myself as an army officer who's just left. Whereas now I'm forging my own path. This is who I am.
That's a huge, monumental bit of self-growth for you. You served your adult life in the military. It is who you were. And it's a hard thing to let go. So it's a big testament to doing that. And you're doing something you love now. And it's who you are now. Although you're not PT with TC anymore.
No, TC coaching now. Yeah. I was never a PT. Like, I think, and that's the, like, when you come into the online PT space, like I've worked as a CrossFit coach. Yeah. I've done a very limited stint as on the shop floor PT. And this might be a controversial thing to say, but I don't think I would be very good. As a PT on the shop floor, I don't think I would be very good. Because I don't have that experience. Like, yeah, okay, I would have to go and cut my teeth and I would have to learn how to do that. But where I really found my stride is when I started I don't know, you attract people because of who you are. And most of the people I was attracting, they wanted that support. They wanted, I worked with Adam Glover from Integrated Nutrition. He was Battlefield Nutrition at the time. And we had a business partnership. He would sort the nutrition, I would sort the training. And it was, I was PT qualified. It was general training, PT, weight loss, that kind of thing. And whilst it was having a real positive impact, as soon as I started up doing events again myself, like going to High Rocks and running and stuff, like my athlete base, my client base started going, do you think I could do something like that? I'm like, yeah. Okay, let's fucking do that. Now, High Rocks hadn't had a coaching pathway up there. So I was like, okay, there's no formal qualification that I can get in this. So let's just do some research. Let's, learn. Let's educate myself. So I started doing research and stuff. And I was like, actually, a lot of the principles are very similar to triathlon training, like, and training in general, the progressive overloads, block periodization. Like, I was like, okay, now let's mix in my passion for High Rocks and I love all of this. And so started getting people to go to those events. Then I took up, triathlon again. Now I've attracted more triathletes. And my coaching business has morphed into now where it was, okay, let's, lose some weight, feel better about yourself. Now it's very much like if you want a pathway to growth, if you want to become a better person all round, I hark back to, and it's something I said earlier in this podcast, like my view on changing your life has not changed. If you want to change your life for the better, pursue something physical. Go after something physical because it's tangible, and within the coaching space, whether it's a marathon, half marathon, 5K, High Rocks, triathlon, whatever, if you've got an end goal in mind, it's much easier to put in the structure. It's much easier to put in a periodization model. Okay, so let's identify your strengths, your weaknesses. What do we need to work on? Your aerobic endurance is not very good. Well, let's work on that first. Actually, you've got a massive aerobic endurance, but your engine, your capacity is not very good. Okay, well, we can work on that. Pursuing a performance. And this is now, I'm finding myself, I'm enjoying it so much that it doesn't feel like work. I get up every single day, I review all of the athletes, like what have they done the day before, voice messages and text messages and notes on Training Peaks and stuff. And it's just amazing. And I think to be able to go from somewhere that I have held as a personal belief for myself and now start to instill that on others, utilizing what was a block of time in my life in the army that I adored my time in the army. But if I think about the things that I really enjoyed, it was the leadership of people. And I've now taken this passion, I put it in.
And that's what's
so amazing.
Brilliant. And the most recent event you've done, you went and did a half Ironman. Yep. And then because you are mental, 5 days later decided to do a backyard ultra. Yep. For those that don't know, a backyard ultra, it's 4.2 or 4.167 miles on the hour, every hour until there's only one person remaining. And you managed 17
Yeah, I came
laps.
back in on the 17th lap.
Should you have done a half Ironman 5 days prior and then done that?
Why not, hey?
I love that.
I think so. I think if you slow down, you slow down. Like that's in life, I think. And particularly with your physicality. But also I think it's about understanding what that backyard ultra was for me. My pursuit of triathlon is my goal this year. I've got, I've done one 70.3. I've got another 70.3 in July, then a full distance Ironman in August, and then another full distance Ironman in October. They're the key markers. They're the A races. Everything else that falls underneath is either for enjoyment or it's for my coaching community. We had 5 athletes go at the Red On Backyard Ultra. Testament to how they did, we've now got 12 already booked in for next year. We are going to have the biggest tent. I'm going to build a village in there. All people, normal people, laborers, project managers, CEOs. Like, I've got coaches on board. I've had RAPTC coaches, who have been coaching clients. I didn't mention it earlier, but Bill Anderson, my first OC, he has been a coaching client of mine. That defining moment for my business. And at 52, got a 3:13 marathon.
Wow.
So, just incredible. He came and did the 100K trail walker ultra marathon last year as well. So we've got 12 people who would have never have thought to do a backyard ultra, but because we did it, well, they now think that they can do it, and they can. And so, High Rocks I have an open challenge to all of my coaching athletes. I don't train for High Rocks. If you want to do it, you book the tickets, you tell me, we'll do it. If you've never done it before, it's amazing. And if you have and you really want to push yourself, then we'll do that. In London, the last one just gone, Matt Tremelin, him and I got a 104 in the pro division. He'd been touching on the 120 on his own. Amazing in the pro. He's a big bloke, but because of the work and the running and all that we put in, he was like, I want you to really push me. So we did, and we got a 104. Last year, me and Rob got a 101. And this is a guy who was, when he first joined me, 2.5 years ago, 120 kilos, couldn't run 3 kilometers without being out of breath and stopping twice. Now he was there at the Backyard Ultra, 50K the weekend before, and then did the Backyard Ultra.
Yeah, and he only stopped because of injury.
Only stopped because of injury,
and that was unpreventable. It was one of those things.
But that happens. Well, that's why Gaz from Plug-in Rehab is so important within my coaching team, because they've spoken. We know we just need to let it settle for a few days. Then he'll come back with a slight change to his strength training routine, guided by the subject matter expert. Yep. And I think that it sort of again goes back to what I was saying. My coaching philosophy is, I'm not a rehab expert. I'm not a nutritionist. However, every man jack coach out there seems to think that they're a rehab expert and a nutritionist, as well as a PT or coach. And they're just selling people on this stuff. You're going to do some people some damage, and you're going to instill some bad habits with your nutrition and whatever. I want to stay in my lane. I know what I'm doing with training and programming. If you've got an injury, go and speak to Gaz. Your nutrition, performance, or daily life, go and speak to Adam. And I think it comes, again, it's a lesson for later on, but surrounding yourself with the people who want you to win. They're my confidence. Confidants. It's that backyard last year. I think, to be honest, I've said this to you privately. I wanted more out of that. I have to recognize the reason I didn't get more was
because you just done a mad half Ironman 5 days prior.
Stomach in tatters. It's well documented how my bowel movements upset me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it though.
Yeah.
The pursuit of hard shit. That's what we should do.
Absolutely. And you've got to you don't have to, but I think it's a huge advocate, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where growth occurs. I am petrified of doing events and talking on camera. And if I think anyone new to combat fuel and would look at it now, me gobbing off on camera, chatting absolute waffle, I hated it. I used to sit there in my bathroom and film myself and then watch it back, and I'm like, I still struggle now. I'm not looking at the camera. I get huge anxiety for doing it. But again, look what it's helped me to achieve.
Absolutely.
Being able to talk to people, and I'd always can't look at them probably a bit of tism going on there. And now it's but get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you'll achieve things that you'd look back on and think, wow, that's.
I'm Alex from Combat Fuel, obviously.
obviously.
Brilliant. I absolutely love it every time you say that. But that's the thing about your comfort zone, isn't it? It's like, this sounds very pie in the sky, but it's like a plastic garden. It might be a nice place to live, but nothing ever grows there.
No.
Like, you just gotta put yourself out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's chat about a few little extra supplements. That's completely biased and an absolutely shameless plug, but we're sat here on our podcast, so we're going to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a little run through like some products that are like your go-tos. I think I've got them right.
So every single thing on there, I use every single day, like every single day, left to right. The creatine, I mean, it's so well documented now. It shouldn't need saying, but if you are pursuing some kind of physical performance, some kind of growth in that area, it's such a go on the website.
Yeah.
Like, it's all there.
Even if you don't do any sport or physical activity, still use creatine.
Absolutely.
Like everyone should use it.
So I'm a 2 scooper.
Yeah.
So 10 grams a day. And I mean, I've done it for years. Like, I've done it for years. It aids in not only performance recovery and stuff. Like, I don't think it needs saying. Go out and do it.
But
the flavors, game changer.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. No one likes scooping chalky. Like, you shouldn't be dry scooping creatine anyway. Needs the water, but not overnight. See, I'd listen. I learn. But the flavors, that strawberry and lime, is banging. In fact, I've got all of them in the cupboard. The creatine. Whey protein for me. So I eat very simply. So I eat pretty much the same stuff every single day. Porridge in the morning, chicken and rice or chicken and potatoes, chicken and rice or chicken potatoes, and some snacks, gels for my fuel in Rice Krispie Squares, fruit, veg. But it's pretty much the same thing every single day. And I like having protein first thing in the morning because it just sets me up for the rest of the day. Plus, it tastes banging. Have it in my porridge. Done. Top tip though, instead of the whey, the vegan protein, because it's so fine.
Yeah.
Right. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit, add in the vegan protein to oats to make porridge with water. Because it's so fine, it soaks up so much water. Yeah. You can have a massive bowl with like 40 grams of oats.
Yeah, and you're like 250 calories.
Yeah,
and again,
it's a big old bowl.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, they actually taste really good for a vegan protein.
Yeah, it does.
Testament to what we do as a brand. Like, we only make good products.
The chocolate brownie vegan protein is the one for me.
It is good.
I'll go clarity last, but multivitamin, I mean, we all like to think that we're getting a good, balanced, healthy, rounded diet, but it isn't always. And actually, there's a bit of insurance there.
Yeah, and doing it again, like for, I think that's $17.99 off the top of my head, for a 3-month supply, done at your ODA, your optimal daily amount, rather than your recommended daily amount. There's not a better multivitamin out there anywhere on the market.
Yeah.
There's no zinc and magnesium in it. Oh no, why have you done that? Well, because it's in another product.
So I think the first time you brought out zinc and magnesium, it wasn't the ultra, it was just the first one. Yeah. That changed my sleep. Like, it's undervalued by a lot of people's sleep. And it's like a flex. In the military, it's a flex. I'm surviving on 4 hours sleep. Well, fucking more fool you,
well
pal.
Done, mate. Well, yeah.
And I just find that I've never really had a problem sleeping, but
it's the quality.
It's just the quality of sleep. And I can sleep anywhere. I will, whether I take that or not, I can fall asleep in 2 minutes. I could fall asleep in this chair in 2 minutes on camera if you told me to. But the quality of sleep, absolutely. So that goes with me everywhere. And it's literally because I'm a big fan of making life as easy as possible for yourself. That tub sits next to my bedside with a water bottle, so it's there. I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to think, I have to take it before I go upstairs. It just lives there. And then clarity, obviously really new, massively skeptical, because how many adverts have we had for the mushroom teas and lion's mane and all of that stuff? And I've always thought, well, I'll try that. But then I just thought, well, I'm not going to. And then that came out, and it was Leah said, do you want some? I was like, freebie? Sure. No worries. Bring it on. And she sent me a tub. And again, super skeptical. I thought, I'm going to give this a go. I have should have put ashwagandha on there as well, because I have that at night. I have problems concentrating. I'm not going to jump on a ADHD bandwagon and stuff, although anybody who knows me has said it's there. My therapist has said it's there. Everyone, like, there's no question. I have real problems concentrating. I've been taking that for the last 3 weeks. My productivity is mental because I take it first thing in the morning with my breakfast. And usually what happens is I'm really focused. This is how it's worked for me anyway. I can be really focused from about 5 o'clock in the morning till about 7:30 in the morning. That 2.5 hours is solid work time for me. And I get up, I'm straight to work. Then my son gets up. We have some time together. The school run, best part of the day. I take the dog out on a walk, and then I come home.
I knew that.
And then I just procrastinate, sit on the sofa, whatever it is. I've started taking that with my breakfast. So by the time I get back in off my dog walk, I don't know what it is. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass and that. I don't know what it is. I just feel genuinely more focused. Like, because it's never a motivation thing. It's never a discipline thing. I know what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I'm building a business. I've been an army officer for that many years. Yeah. I know what I should be doing. It's not motivation. It's not discipline. It's just, God, it sounds so cheesy. It's clarity of thought.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds so cheesy. That was not rehearsed. Like, genuinely, I don't know what it is. I get back up from the dog walk and now I'm good.
Again, and the key bit in here, like, a lot of people say, oh, it's the Lion's Mane, it's giving you focus. It's not. Like, and that's a really bad way of saying it. Like, why have we made a Lion's Mane product that doesn't give you focus? Because that's not what it does. The Lion's Mane, again, and the key bit in there is the standardization. The standardization is through the roof. We spent too long. Well, it wasn't too long. We made a brilliant product, but we spent forever and a day sourcing our raw ingredients there, like what we needed companies to have the licenses to bring it into the UK, to find it, make sure it's obviously safe, tested at raw ingredient level, not paying for a logo on a finished product because that's not what we're about. But then it's the rhodiola. The key inclusion there is the rhodiola. The rhodiola is what gives you that feel-good concentration done. And the Lion's Mane is there for that long-term brain health, cognitive function benefit. And it's put together. No one else ever done it before. One, because it costs a lot of money to do. But yeah, it's absolutely, we've not had a single piece of bad feedback on that.
Yeah,
it's been
great.
Brilliant. It takes us forever and a day, like I said, to bring a product to market. We've never, ever had something where it's just gone smoothly to launch. Even that, we launched it at the Arnold's, and we had our manufacturers bringing us boxes of 20 as they were coming off the line on the Friday, trying to get it to us. And then we were getting our pallets sent to us of it afterwards, because nothing ever goes to plan. But when you try and make things that are so good, they're so hard to do, but it's worth it. The legwork we put into every product we produce is, it's phenomenal.
Well, but like before I started taking Combat Fuel, which was 2019, I was on the My Protein bulk. It's cheap, isn't it?
Yeah.
And stupidly, because I didn't know any better, it's like, it's being sold in the UK, therefore it must be a good quality, and it's by this massive company or whatever. And it wasn't just My Protein, there's lots of other things. But then it was a game changer. Like the whey protein when it started in the old school tubs. It was
a picture of me.
It was mega, and it's gone from strength to strength. And to be involved has been amazing, mate. Like,
it really to have you part of it.
At no point did I ever think that I would be involved with like anything, let alone such a cool brand. Like, that was never on the cards. Never on the cards.
And it's man, we don't expect anything from anyone. We're just a group of good guys and girls that like the things that they do, and we try and support each other. And I think that's as deep as it gets. It's probably the worst piece of, like, it's the worst way you should probably run a business, but it's doing all right. It's think everywhere I go, any military camp I go to, and then people like recognize the brand, and I'm like, wow, this is like done a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You have done a thing, mate.
Yeah,
and I hope, if you'll permit me, I hope you recognize it sometimes. I hope you just take, because you work so fucking hard.
Yeah. Yes.
I hope you just take a moment sometimes to sit at home with Rachel and just sit there and go, I'm doing a good thing.
Right.
I'm doing all right. Because that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And, you know, taking that time back to reflect, it's hard. And touching on our products, to like put it back to you is, okay, we're not on My Protein, we're not the cheapest thing in the world. We're actually pretty competitive on some of your more generic things that are still done to a better standard, like protein, done better to a higher quality. Actually, the price is not that different, but it's coaching. You could go and get a coach for 20, 30 quid a month to sign up for a thing, or they could pay you. It's not the fact that I want to go for them because they're cheaper because you're too expensive. It's because of the quality they get from the coaching from you.
Yeah.
And the same with us. It's, you're paying for quality. And I think, especially since COVID's happened, people really care about themselves. They care about what they're putting in their body, and they care about how they're treating their body. And it's, you know, in a way, dare I say it, hope it doesn't happen again. We've been lucky with COVID because it's people have woken up to, I care what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And it's and that's benefited us.
Are you really? I had a conversation with someone who was, they asked me about supplements, and I said, oh, well, actually, I'm affiliated with Combat Fuel. I use them all the time. I wouldn't talk about something unless I actually use it. And he said, oh, it's a bit expensive. And I said, are you really worth that little to yourself? It sounds really pretentious to say, right? I said, but are you really worth that little to yourself that you're going to go for a company that just amino spikes the cheapest products just because you think that you're, because I said, because it's counterintuitive, counterproductive, because actually what you're doing is you're spending money that's not working.
Yeah.
And just to make yourself feel okay about spending money.
Yeah. And again, we can inflate our prices and give like 40% discounts to people, and it's like, there's no integrity. There's no integrity in it.
But why do that when you can get a 15% discount with code TOMCF?
There you go.
It's not as slick as Tegs, is it?
It's, but everyone, you know, your code gets used well because, again, the one thing we have with absolutely everyone that works with a brand is they're authentic. They're truly authentic to themselves. We never ask, and you'll attest to it, we never say to anyone, oh, Tom, can you just push this? I don't use it. Yeah, but you just push it. And you'll never do it. And we never ask. If we ever see someone pushing or sharing something, I'm like, you don't use that product. What are you doing? Like, that's not... Yeah. People see through it, and people do. You see straight through social media now. It's when you're your true, authentic self, your sky's the limit. And
it's why I don't push the peanut butter cups. I can't, because I've eaten too many of them, and so I can't buy them anymore.
They are bad. They're so good, they're bad. I've got a new flavour coming out now. In fact, I can even say it on here because this is going to come out after our new Dubai cups that are coming out soon. Oh. I think they're coming out either this weekend or next weekend. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good place because it's on camera. Like, I'd love to try them.
There you go, Fraser. Go grab us a packet. But before we get you to try some, Tom, we're going to ask you for a piece of advice.
Okay,
as we always do. It can be to your younger self, to anyone else, but a piece of advice. And I think you're.
So I was very. This is not usually the done thing with officers, but I was very. Oh, lovely. Oh, yes. I was very privileged by my last commanding officer, Johnny Carey, incredible bloke. I was permitted to talk to the mess at a dine out. We were having a regimental dinner, and I said, could I? And he was like, of course, absolutely. And I came up with four pieces of advice, and I'll try and keep them brief. I've got my phone just in case I miss something. But the first was that whether you're an army officer, a soldier, or absolutely nothing to do with the military, always recognize that your individuality is your greatest asset. Like, if you're in a leadership position, individuality allows people to get to know you as a person. And as soon as you can get to know someone as a person, you can actually learn to trust them. It's really easy, particularly to the junior officers out there, in particular, from my experience, it's really easy to succumb to what is a cynical and skeptical world where we seem to value the grey man. How many times have you been told when you go on a course, make sure you want to be the grey man. Fuck being the grey man. Don't be the grey man. Be the opposite. Stand out. Because when you give yourself license to be an individual, you will pursue your passion, no matter what it is. It could be collecting Pokemon cards. It could be running ultra marathons. It could be bodybuilding. It could be Warhammer. Like, no matter what it is, pursue it with a passion, because when you pursue it with a passion, you will find your people, because they're likely to be the same people. Which then brings me on to the second point, and that is that you need to find your people. Surround yourself with those who want you to win. And if they don't, fuck them, right? Because they're the ones missing out. And it doesn't matter as a soldier, as an officer, as no one in the military. Find some people who want you to win. And for me, I have those people in my life, and I am much richer for it. And one of them, combat fuel athlete Harry, lives out in Thailand. We all know him. Last year, I was having a real hard time. Breakup from a relationship, had a knock-on effect. Business wasn't going great, and I was really fucking down. And I texted him and I just said, I think I just need to be more Harry. He saw it as a cry for help. Rang me, I ignored it. Rang me again, I ignored it. I am not going to stop calling you until you answer the phone. So I answered. An hour and a half on the phone later, and I've booked flights to Thailand. And I went and had an amazing time, and it reset me. He's someone who wanted me to win. So surround yourself with people. The third point was say yes to right now. I got asked by Matt Spruce for, what piece of advice would I give myself as I started coaching. And I said to him, if I'd have known what I was building, I'd have been too overwhelmed to start. And it's the same with fitness. It's the same with your health. If you look and go, I want to do an Ironman, and you have absolutely no capability of doing that right now, well, you're not going to be able to do an Ironman because it's going to be too big. It's going to be too overwhelming. Instead, focus on the next training session. And that starts with saying yes to opportunity. I said yes to opportunity throughout my entire career. I went all over the world because of it, because I said yes. The everything from the skiing and, exercises out in Norway and over in America, just everything. Amazing opportunities happen when you say yes. You're going to get some shit, but so what? And it goes deeper than, so a piece of advice that someone gave me was, no one's ever going to thank you for not going skiing.
Yeah.
But it goes deeper than that, because you learn from every single step. And particularly as a junior officer, the more experience you get, the more you can organize stuff, the more you can help people organize their own stuff. And then they pay it forward. And it just goes on and on. And then the last piece of advice, and this is something I genuinely live by every single day. And it can be really difficult for people to understand, but it's something known as Hanlon's razor. And that is, never attribute to malice that which can be explained by ignorance, incompetence, or oversight. If you can give someone the benefit of the doubt and you can act in a care, kind, and compassionate way with positivity, life is so much better. Yeah. It sounds very hippie, but I don't get stressed if I feel someone else has impeded my world in any way. They probably didn't mean to do so. That's a much better way of being, rather than just being pissed off at the world all the time. Yeah. And you see the trolls online and they're all like taking the piss out of people and whatever. What's happened in your life to make you that way?
Of which I want to touch on it quickly. I know we're on our advice part at the end, but you had it when you left. You made a video of you in uniform and you jumped into PE kit and you had so much abuse on it.
It pushed the algorithm though, didn't it?
It was brilliant. I loved it though. There's banter and then there's just like, I'm so unhappy with myself. I want to project that on you because you've gone and done something that maybe I wanted to do or something. But
It was mad. It's still a pinned post.
Yeah.
This is like 3 years on now. A wave of combat fuel flag and stuff, right? It's just a fun bit of a post. But actually, if you look in the comments, yes, there's a load of negative, but there's a fuckload of positive as well.
Yeah.
And the negative ones are usually calling me a lizard, fucking officers, grow up. What's that? What are those trainers? What's that hat? And I was just like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, are you so unhappy with your lot in life that you need to take the piss out of someone who is just trying something new?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And if you don't like it, scroll.
Just block me. Just scroll on. If you don't want to see it, don't bother.
Yeah. It's just more about you being that offended. And I get it. Like, I love watching, this is like proper bad now. I love watching Married at First Sight. And I see it and I think, you are infuriating. I'll just block you. Because if not, I'll be consumed by what a bad person you are. But yeah, just block them. Just block someone and move on with your life.
Yeah.
Like, don't give it the time of day. If you've got so invested in hating on someone, imagine what you could have done with that time being productive for yourself.
You won't find, there is literally not a single moment in my entire, digital footprint where I've thrown negativity at another person.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
It's not worth
There's
time
no
of day.
point. What is the point? You'd live your life in a positive way and it will come back around to you.
Absolutely. Tom, thank you for your service.
Oh, mate. No.
Thank you for coming on our podcast and thank you for being a part of our family. Been an absolute pleasure. And please do tell people where they can come and find you for coaching, for a chat, for anything.
Yeah. I mean, so the easiest one is probably Instagram, coaching.tc. Just look, I mean, my feed's covered in this blue stuff.
Yep.
Right. With
very proud to have our logo on there.
So yeah, coaching.tc is probably the easiest. Yeah.
Tom, thank you very much.
Mate, thank you.
Don't stop. Eat your cups.
Oh yeah, I'll eat this. Yeah.
Are we still rolling, Fraser?
This is the first time, like, because I think at the last content day, people had a little taste, didn't they? Oh fuck, they're dangerous.
They are dangerous.
Oh, the texture in there as well. Oh,
They are good.
You have called it the Dubai style as opposed to just pistachio. I'm in trouble here. Oh, okay.
And on that note, good.
They're really good.
They're good, aren't they?